Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot and a PMDG 777 beta tester. Welcome to another flight in the 777, and today we're going to make it a long one and we're going to make it a polar one. That's the KLM flight 862 from Tokyo Narita over to Amsterdam. Now, you may be asking, why exactly is this a polar flight, especially if you're watching this a couple years into the future and haven't been into aviation before. That's because basically Russian airspace is close to us, so for this reason we can't just go the straight line across Russia like we normally would, but much rather we are flying all across Russia up to Alaska and then via the tip of Greenland down towards Amsterdam. And generally crossing the polar area up here, going to about 81 degrees north today. You can see that we do have quite a couple of ETOPS airports over here as well, since we are not using anything in Russia over here. So we are leaving via New Chitose all the way into Anchorage, and then we are continuing via Yellowknife for that little bit up here until we can join the ETOPS area based on Reykjavik, and then leading us all the way down to the Netherlands. Overall, we are looking at about 13.5 flight hours for this one, so let's go ahead and have some fun. Now, obviously, the question is, which aircraft are we going to take? Are we going to take that lovely 300ER over there, or are we going to take that lovely 200ER over here? And, well, let me think about it. No, there's not a lot to think about. Obviously, it's going to be the 200ER. So, let's go right into it. We're boarding through to left over here and slowly make our way over to the flight deck. Again, 200ER with GE engines today. The more similar version to the 300ER than the other two, since it is fitted with N1 gauges and since it is fitted with similar engines. However, the GE90s of the 200ER are actually downrated compared to the 300 one, though it would be more correct to say that the 300 one is uprated over the 200 one. In any case, let's go ahead and take a seat in our captain's seat and start setting us up for today's flight. So for the safety inspection, the fuel control levers are cut off, the thrust levers are in idle, landing gear lever is down, the wipers are off, and electrical power is already on. So let's turn on the ADRU, and then we can move right down into our electronic flight bag, where we can do the flight data request from SimBrief, and then we can have a look into our flight plan. So I already showed you the general map, but let's go ahead and have a look at the maps just in the enlarged screen version here. So for our significant weather charts, we're departing Tokyo down here and then basically joining the jet stream at 165 knots all the way over. Now, eventually crossing the North Pole is going to be easy, since basically there's not a lot happening. And then finally, when we get over to the other side, we can start our approach to Amsterdam in beautifully calm conditions. If we check the airport weather forecast, we can see that our departure in Tokyo features northwesterly winds, so runway 34 left is going to be our departure runway. Schiphol also has good weather conditions, and our alternate Eindhoven is forecast good as well. Second alternate Düsseldorf, clear skies, variable winds. What else can you possibly ask for? So if we go a little bit further down, we can check our ETOPS airports. New Chitose has easy weather conditions along our day and time of flight. Now, Anchorage is also fairly good. Yellowknife is excellent. And last but not least, Keflavik. A couple of gusts and stuff, but nothing to worry about. Well, 130, 25 gust 35, but that's only going to be in the evening, long after we landed. So for our passing, we actually expect just this, which is perfect weather. Well, and then we can move up on the OFP. If we depart on time, we're going to arrive 10 minutes early. We might depart a little bit late today, and you can see we are pretty close to the max takeoff weight with 22 tons to spare. Now, initial flight level 330, rather low, and then we're eventually slowly going to climb up until flight level 390 towards the end of our flight. Moving down a little bit then into the fuel section. If we wait 1,000 more, we'll need some 330 kilos extra. We can shove off up to half an hour at the cost of 3,800 kilos of fuel. We are probably not going to do that. So in terms of our fuel load, then 98 tons would be the minimum take of fuel. Let's take 2,000 more just so that we can make up a bit of the time. So 100 tons of fuel for today's flight. And that's going to be our final fuel decision. So let's move over into the weight and balance and import our SimBrief weights. Then we can go into the precise loading page. And down here we can set our fuel at 100 tons. Alright, and that's still just 73% of fuel. That's so incredible to think about. But if we look into the flight plan, we can see that with those 73% of fuel, we will be able to fly a 13.5-hour flight. So really incredible. Alright, so that's pretty much the basics down here. Then let's start checking our aircraft and making sure it's ready for service. So we'll start with a recall over here, checking all those messages. We got to keep an eye on the SATCOM and the SAT voice lost over here. Got to make sure that by the time our IRS aligns, that thing fixes itself. Otherwise we have a problem flying across the poles. So then, the oil quantity at 20 tons is okay. The hydraulic quantities are good. Oxygen is good. Let's turn the APU on without starting it. And the oil quantity is good as well. And APU back off again. So that much for the basics over here. Then we'll keep things open. Now I'll do one non-standard thing down here. That is, I will already request our departure ATIS because that just takes so long to arrive all the time. So Tokyo request sent. Thank you. Very good. So then oxygen test. And the quantity is still looking good. Well, then we can go straight into our FMS setup. So 777-200ER G90 engine nav database is up to date. We copy and paste the GPS position and do the route request and select that one. And then let's open up our flight plan. Departing via, let's see, airport chart. Let's see if we can find that parking stand chart, and we did. So, and then we gotta check our SID, which is the Gulbo 2 departure. So let's find that one as well real quick. Gulbo 2 RNAV departure, here it is. Wonderful, so route uplink, load. Going to take a little more while. Let's see, radar minimum outs, we're also going to take this one. Okay, beautiful. So, that's that. Now, Tokyo Narita over to Amsterdam, KLM 862. Then let's select our departure, 34 left, Gulbo 2. And for the arrival, for the time being, they have planned runway 06 if I'm not mistaken, though I don't quite intend on using that. Yeah, 06 Topper 2 Alpha. We'll just load that for the time being, and then we'll probably exchange it a little bit later on. So Topper 2 Alpha, and let's see, I think it arrived via RTIP, but let's check. Nope, Sugol. So we'll take the Sugol transition. Alright, activate and execute. Now let's go ahead and cross-check that route. So via Gulbo, Yankee 808 Puta, Alpha 590 Powell, direct Opaki, direct Mark, direct Judgexy, direct 71 north, 160 degrees west, direct Omega, direct 80 degrees north, 130 degrees west, direct 81 north, 110 degrees west, 82 north, 90 west, 82 north, 80 west, 82 north, 60 west, 80 north, 40 west, 75 north, 20 west, 69 north, 10 west, direct Sosa, direct T-Mobile, Lima 7 Venas, Lima 74 Topper. And the ground distance of this one, 6,594 versus 6,580. So far, so good. Then let's go ahead and load up the wind, as that is probably going to make quite a difference on today's flight. Average wind component is just 25 knots of tailwind, but remember that jet stream that we're gonna fly through for the past like hour or so, or actually past for the first 3 hours or so. So then, descent forecast uplink load. Yes, I know there are more than that. Alright, progress is checked. So for our departure, we'll take a fixed info around Narita with 25 miles. We do not need anything in the radios. Transition altitude 14,000 according to the FMS and 14,000 according to the chart. Now let's go into the forecast. So alternates 2.6, final 2.7. If we add the two, that's 5.3. And that's correct. Flight level, well, the initial flight level should be 330. Cost index 20, minimum fuel temperature minus 44, cruise CG 30, and then into the takeoff page. So we are going to use noise abatement procedure number 2, which is 1000 and 1000, like this. Well, perfect. And then we can go ahead and check all those Atlantic waypoints. So starting at 71 north, 160 degrees. Yeah, lovely. Invalid entry. Okay, that shouldn't happen. That is a bug. Going to report that one. In any case, let's go ahead and check the others. So next up is going to be 80 north, 30. And that's 80 north, 130 west. Perfect. Then 81 north, 110 west. You should also be readable. Okay, so quite a couple of bugs there. Let's see, that one's probably not going to work either then. Nope. What about that one? Yeah, that works. Okay, so the bug is identified then. The problem is that those waypoints over here are custom waypoints that have been imported. Those waypoints down here, the 5-digit ones, come right from the database. So, yeah, it can't read the custom ones. That's the bug, which I'm definitely going to report. So, that one's looking good though. This one's looking good. And this one's looking good. Alright, perfect. So, with that, our route is checked. And then we can do the rest of our flight deck inspection. So this is literally just ensuring our aircraft is safe for service. So checklists reset all, and com page, let's see, the weather is here with a QNH of 1010. Like this. Okay, wonderful. So, with that, our flight deck inspection is almost complete. 1228, listen and monitor, weather radar set, and 1215. Alright, and that's our setup done. So, then let's go ahead and make sure that park and brake is set, and then we can do the briefing. Right, thanks. So for the departure briefing, we are departing runway 34 left via the Gulbo 2 departure. Initial climb, I think it's about 5,000, but we'll see what ATC is going to give us. In terms of the MSA, I'll actually need to take a quick look. 3,100 all around the airport is going to keep us safe, and extra fuel and time we have 2,000 kilos, of which we're going to keep 1,400 on arrival. That gives us some 10 minutes or so. Alright, thanks for that. So we have no hotspots for our taxi routing. Stop margin is a couple hundred meters. Engine out sits straight at 25 miles, climbing 4,000, MSA 3.1 as you said correctly. We are some 90 tons above the maximum landing weight, so fuel dumping will be considered, but 3-4 left is long enough to take us back if we absolutely need to. On the other hand side, we are going to take things slowly whenever possible. Just pick up a holding somewhere, work the checklists, and then we decide on the further course of action and what we need to do. Fuel dumping, of course, sounds easy, but remember it's going to take us over an hour to get down to the maximum landing weight just by dumping alone, so we have to consider if this is an option or not. Chances are that, depending on what it is, if it's passenger that's ill, then we might just have to do an overweight landing. So overweight landing checklist is always available on our QRH. Alright, only if things have to go really fast, think an unextinguishable fire or something, then we're going to make a traffic pattern and come right back. Weather is okay for a pattern, even though it's not great, but it will be alright. So I can see a couple of TCUs over there already. Gonna make things interesting. Alright, apart from that, I have nothing non-standard, nothing special. Do you have any threats? No? Beautiful, so that's our briefing completed. In that case, pre-flight checklist please. So, oxygen, tested 100%, flight instruments, heading 197, altimeter 1010, reading 140, set left, set right, pre-flight checklist complete. Alright, starting the APU, and then we can close up. So, ground ups, vehicles, release all, door management, close all. Then let's say hello to our passengers. Goedemiddag, ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck. This is your captain speaking. My name is Emmanuel. In the name of KLM, welcome aboard flight 682 towards Amsterdam. Today's flight time has been calculated at 13.5 hours. We do expect a mostly smooth flight, perhaps some occasional light turbulence along the way, especially in the first 3 to 4 hours of the flight, as we are going to cross some very strong jet streams. Nonetheless, we do hope that you can make yourself comfortable, sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us. And if there is anything to make it more enjoyable, please don't hesitate to contact any of our charming cabin crew. Once again, thank you very much for being on board, and now enjoy the flight with us. Cabin crew, all doors in flight. So the doors are armed. Then let's do the performance. So zero fuel weight is 178.9, and that's a gross weight of 278.9, and the CG is at 28. So Narita, runway 34 left, import aircraft weights and the weather. So let's calculate that, see what we're gonna get. Full takeoff rating. Okay, makes things interesting. So we have full takeoff 102%, a flaps 5 takeoff at a CG of 28, 4.25 units trim, takeoff speed 153, 162, 169, close enough, and that's it. So ground from flight deck, go ahead. Okay, so please confirm all doors and hatches are closed, ground equipment is removed, and the bypass pin is installed. All confirmed. Okay, thanks. So, are we clear to pressurize? Yes, sir. Clear to pressurize. Thank you. So let's just check that initial climb once again, just to be on the safe side here. So it looks like there is no altitude on here as far as I can see. Alright, then 7,000 is the first restriction up there, then let's make it 7,000. Okay, pressurizing hydraulics. External car can be disconnected. Pumps are starting up, 4.25 units trim. Looking good. Before start checklist, down to the line, please. Flight deck door, closed and locked. MCP V2169 heading 339, altitude 7000. Takeoff speeds V1 154, VR 162, V2 169. CDU pre-flight completed. Trim 4.25 units, 0 and 0. Taxi and takeoff briefing completed. Holding a beacon. So looks like pushback tool is broken. GSX. Is broken. And you aren't working either, huh? Okay, so we gotta use default pushback. In that case, beacon on, before start checklist complete. Okay, ground, we're clear to push, the park and brake is released. Roger that, start on the pushback and stand by for engines. Not exactly my favorite way of doing this, but yeah, what are the options, huh? So, they're connecting the tuck. Let's see in which direction they're actually going to move us. So, GE engines on this aircraft. That means we have to start them one at a time. Alright then. And then... Shocks are removed, that way they can start pushing. Very good, and off we go. I suppose I don't even want to look outside, because it would just frustrate me. So let's go ahead and start the engines, 2 then 1 in that sequence. Yeah, what did I say? Pushing us into the wrong direction. But do you guys think it's gonna be smart and just push us here and then tail over there again? I'm kinda not convinced, if I'm honest. This is going completely the wrong way. Congratulations, pushback tool. Or? Is it turning? Is it? No, it's stopping. Like, yeah, this is a decent end position for a pushback, because why wouldn't it? I mean, that's sufficient runway to get us airborne. Almost. So, good start on the right engine, starting the left engine. And I suppose no further comment on that pushback. So, number 1 is starting, N2 increasing, oil pressure rising. I don't have to do those callouts, by the way. But I kinda like to do them, because why not? Well, here is the reason why not. It's a fully automatic engine start, so nothing that you as pilot need to monitor that closely, because anything that does go wrong would generate an ICAS caution for you. Okay, so we have 2 good engine starts, clear to disconnect. Show me the pin on the right side, please, and have an awful day for that pushback. Thank you very much. Flight control check. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral. And the rudder. Full left. Full right. Neutral. So, before taxi checklist, anti-ice, auto, recall, checked, flight controls checked, ground equipment clear, before taxi checklist complete. Clear left side, clear right side. So, park and brake released. Let's try this. You gotta make a 270-degree turn to the left. So a little bit more power on the right engine there, just to help it a bit. Okay, so we finally made it onto the proper taxiway. So we're going to go slightly to the left here and then immediately to the right again onto Romeo to get us clear of the apron and onto the main taxiway. And once we're on there, we can do all the rest of our procedures and the briefing. So taxi routing is all the way here and onto Alpha, and that will take us all the way to the full length. So the taxi speed shouldn't be greater than 15 knots on the apron. Let's just brake a little bit again. Here we go, 15. So, clear left side, clear right side. Let's go back down to 10 knots. Here we are, and left-hand turn onto Alpha. And once we're on there, all the way up to the runway. Alright, the cabin is ready. Let's go weather and terrain. Before takeoff checklist. Before takeoff checklist complete. So, let's review the takeoff briefing. It's going to be a left-hand takeoff. Runway 34 left, flips 5, noise abatement procedure 2, takeoff speeds 154, 162, 169. In the case of an engine failure, we proceed on the runway heading to 25 miles, climbing 4,000 feet, which keeps us safe above the MSA of 3,100 feet. Now for the normal sit, we go straight ahead, then off with a right-hand turn, and initially to 7,000 feet, further by departure. Takeoff weight is rather heavy. I think the heaviest we've done yet on the 200ER on this channel, so just be a little bit careful there with possible tail strikes, even though, of course, our takeoff calculation does take care of that. Well, and then I have nothing different. Do you have any questions? No? Alright, so that's our departure briefing complete. Alright, and now we've just got to taxi all the way up to the holding point. Something I find quite amazing is how many freighters you find over here. Like, there's an Atlas Air over there, then we've got the NCA over there. We already saw cargo looks adjacent to our gates. Narita really is one of those airports where you have almost as much freight as you have passengers. Which, by the way, I'm really looking forward to when the 777 freighter comes out a couple of weeks after the 200ER releases. Still strange looking at those wingtips being completely different than what we're used to from the 300ER and the freighter. That's just a little bit older technology on the 200ER over here. But those engines just look completely huge on the comparably small 200ER, don't they? I really like them. I really do. So, another 747 freighter over there. Okay. So, are you ready for departure? Yes? Good. Cabin crew, prepare for departure. Okay, all checklists are red. We are clear on the approach. So with that, we're good to go. I just love how simple the procedures are in the 777. It looks more complicated than Airbus's, but it really isn't. Okay, ready? Take off. Set takeoff thrust. Thrust set.
80 knots.
Checked.
V1. Rotate. Positive rate of climb.
Gear up. So, you feel that power. LNAV. VNAV. Alright, acceleration. Engines are going down to climb thrusts. Flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. And flaps up. Speed checked. Flaps up. Autopilot. Flaps up, no lights. So, anti-ice auto. And after takeoff checklist. After takeoff checklist complete. Engines and climb thrust, we don't need that timer anymore. Let's go to the VNAV page down here. And a quick check, optimum flight level 326. Recommended 270. Is that because of the winds? We'll check when we're a little bit higher. Alright, for now though, let's go into a radar vector over here and take a little shortcut. So make that a right turn heading 090. Heading select, and then climb 10,000. Set, 10,000 checked. So that heading would take us towards Rooney. Let's go ahead and put that one on top for the time being. Even though chances are we are going to continue the right turn a little bit further. So, proper rate of climb here, 2,500 feet a minute. Beautiful terrain down there, as we're used to from this simulator. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. I suppose we'll continue the right-hand turn onto a heading of 120. The sound of those GE90s is just incredible, isn't it? I really like it. Okay then, let's go direct towards Gulbo. Execute, on off available. And just looking at this, should we perhaps go... No, let's go Gulbo, that's fine. On F. And then continue climb to flight level 200. Set. 200 checked. So, someone asked me recently if the engines had physics added to them. With that he probably meant if they are moving a little bit. The answer is of course yes. Actually, PMDG were the first to ever do this with, I believe, their 747 back in prepared. It just looks great, doesn't it? Even though I have to admit I wouldn't want to sit inside this aircraft for 13.5 hours on any passenger seat now. Pilot seat is fine, that pays good money. But 13.5 hours, even in business class, I'm not sure if I wanted that. So, passing 10,000. Lights off, and I think we can release our passengers for the time being. Alright then, so let's go ahead and get the latest weather of our ETOPS ordnance here. So, trip request, get me the flight plan please. All the way down to our ETOPS section. So we start with New Chitose. Send, then we need anchorage. Send, then we need Yellowknife. And finally we need Innsbruck. No. Finally we do need Keflavik. So, why did I just say Innsbruck? I was actually thinking about something. I just recently found out that in the Airbus A330 you can actually insert airports by their IATA code as well. So when I tried to get the weather for Shannon, Echo India November November, I forgot the echo, I just typed India November November. Pretty much like this. Let's send this, see what's gonna happen. And, well, I wasn't the one to pick up the printed weather, my colleague did, and he just looked at me and he was like, why on earth did you just request the weather for Innsbruck? So Innsbruck, IATA code, India November November, and I was like, what the hell is he talking about Innsbruck? I don't care about Innsbruck. Well, turns out that the A330 does accept IATA codes, so when I entered India November November, I got Innsbruck. Okay, set standard. Standard cross check, passing flight level 144. Now, checked. Alright, so let's see what we got. New messages, and that's a lot of weather, and yeah, look at that. This one does apparently not understand IATA codes. Then again, this is a 777 and not an A330, so these things could of course be different. Alright, so let's start chronologically with New Chitosa up here. And that one is actually very good, so cancel. Then, next up, we have that Tough, which is very good as well, cancel. Okay, so Anchorage, let's look at the weather, which is awesome, cancel. Then we have the forecast in Anchorage, which we are aware of, cancel. Alright, we don't need this one, nor do we need this one. Then the Tough for Yellow, the weather for Yellowknife is excellent. The Tough for Yellowknife is still excellent, wonderful. And then we've got the weather for Reykjavik, which is wonderful as well. And last but not least, the Tough for Reykjavik. Well, we are familiar with that, so that's good as well. Right, cool. So let's go ahead and start entering our ETOPS airport. So RJCC is going into here with a 410-mile ring around it. Then we've got Anchorage, Pank coming in here, and again 410-mile ring. Then we have Yellowknife up here, 410 miles. And last but not least, we do have Reykjavik, or Keflavik, which is located in Reykjavik, but they have a domestic airport called Reykjavik as well, so should say Keflavik, doesn't matter, but just for the sake of it. Okay, and that's all that stuff. Now let's see about the individual circles here. The first one is 1,311 miles. Like this. Then we need 1337 from Anchorage. Over here. Yellowknife needs 1064. And Keflavik, 1,000 to go. Let's actually continue the climb to flight level 330, which is going to be our cruising level. And that's set 330 checked. So the wind is slowly picking up. I like it, but it will become even better up here. Okay, so Keflavik, we need 1,307. Alrighty, and that's everything entered. So for the time being, optimum 326, maximum 361, recommended 310 for now. Let's see if we can see the reason for that. So the wind does pick up with increasing altitude. It's actually the strongest in level 330 from the forecast here, so 330 it is for sure. Okay, and that's everything I have for the time being. So let's do that iPad, bring that zoom to a decent level. Well, and with all that, we are up and on the way. friends, 12 hours and 40 minutes in the air, and we are approaching the top of descent. I do hope you enjoyed the lovely views across Alaska, across Greenland, and eventually across the clouds. So, from here on, we have already spent the most part of our flight, and now we can go ahead, grab the latest weather information for our destination airport, Amsterdam, and then we'll see about our landing. Now, it looks like runway 06 is in use at the moment, but let's go ahead and do all the things that we can do without knowing the runway already. So our descent data looks good. Let's go ahead and request the latest forecast, and this request is a little bit older by now, like 13 hours old. So all those data link requests here are on the way. In the meantime, we can just enter our destination airport already. So, no, not you. Of course, this had to happen at the same time. So, Amsterdam, 25-mile ring, and here's the data. So, load the forecast and load the ADAS. So, Oscar, it is 0408, slightly variable, 10 kilometers, and no clouds. Temperature 16 QNH 1025. Here we go, 1025 once and 1025 twice. Alrighty, so the weather is understood, then runway 06 it is indeed. Let's get the universal flight tablet and start to prepare our approach. So switch, Amsterdam, Topper 2 Alpha RNAV arrival. And runway 06 it is for us today. Then I think it's easiest to enter the night transition here, the Sugal 1 Alpha, just to have something meaningful in there. So pretty much like this. Now let's go ahead and cross-check the arrival. So, star Topper 2 Alpha. That one's coming in from Topper below flight level 250 via Monil to Robthi and then Sugal. And Sugal maximum 250 knots between level 100 and flight level 70 according to the star. Quite a little bit different from what we've got in the box. Let's check if there is a reason for that. Most likely there is. I guess it's the night transition that has different restrictions. Let's go ahead and check this, and indeed you can see over here it's Sugal between level 100 and level 140, but since we're not flying the night transition, let's actually change that and make it at level 100. That way we've covered both the possible cases. So the night transition would then lead us on via Neton, maximum 250 knots. Like this, to Alpha Mike 612, and then direct to Soxy. Well, this is a straight line, so that way it is straight in the FMS as well. Down to Soxy, maximum 220 and above 4,000 feet. Then we've got waypoint 613, 614, above 2,900, 110 and 609, and that's going to be the final approach fix. So for that we gotta head over to the ILS chart for runway 06. So down here at waypoint 609 in 2000, 3-degree glide slope, which is exactly what we've got down here. Missed approach is climb on track 056, climb to 2000 feet and form ATC immediately, which we've got in here. Well, and then we're going to receive radar vectors for another approach or for a diversion. 9 tons arrival fuel versus 5.3 minimum required, so we have like about half an hour extra. So the minimum is 189. So there are no notes in the ECL and the recall is checked. Very good, then we can do some landing performance calculations. We know already that we need to vacate the runway towards the end. So I'm not all too eager on using too much auto brake here. Let's see about our landing weight. 9 tons on arrival versus 10.4 now, so we're burning like about a ton. So if we call it 188, we will be fine. Let's make it 188.5. Okay, cool. So I suggest flaps 30. But let's calculate 25, see what's going to happen. And a low auto brake setting, like auto brake 1. So that actually looks pretty good here. 2,343 meters. I think that's what I'm going to take, so it will be flaps 25 in the end. Pretty much like this. Okay. So, all that looks pretty good. Then, let's see. 2 cars below. Okay, it wasn't below already, no traffic below there. Well, let's go ahead and start the approach briefing, and when ready, descend to flight level 250. Alright, so for the briefing, Top 2 Alpha arrival, ILS runway 06 with radar vectors, minimums 189, MSA 2000, and in case of go-around, straight at climbing 2000. Now, extra fuel and time, we have 4 tons, which makes half an hour. Alright, thanks for that. Now our arrival is going to be guided by the flight director for the ILS approach into runway 06. Landing flaps 25, idle reverse, auto brakes 1, vacate the runway to the left hand side. We have no specials and no hotspots for the taxi in. Now, that's pretty much it. Do you have anything special? No? Alright. In that case, descent checklist please. So, recall, checked, notes, checked, auto brake, level 1. Landing data, VRF 25, 137, minimum, barrel 189, set left, set right, approach briefing completed, descent checklist complete. Okay, so fasten seatbelts are coming on, and then I'll say bye-bye to our passengers. Went down ahead and from the cockpit, your captain speaking. We just left our cruising altitude of 39,000 feet and started our descent towards Amsterdam Schiphol. Remaining flight time is now approximately half an hour. The weather over in Amsterdam is 16 degrees and only a few clouds at the sky. Would like to thank you very much for choosing KLM for today's flight. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did, and we look forward to welcoming you again on board of a future Boeing 777 flight. Thank you very much for your attention, and we wish you a nice and safe onwards journey. And with that, let's set course to our destination airport. Approaching and maintaining flight level 100, reducing our speed towards 50 knots. And then let's go ahead and give ourselves radar vector here, heading 130 on a right-hand turn into Amsterdam. Actually, let's make that heading 135. So, descent flight level 70. Level change, and passing 10,000. The signs are on, the lights are on, and that's it. So, Soxy on top on the FMS here. Actually, 614 is a bit better. That should give us some proper VNAV guidance here. Currently shows us 700 high, but I'm not too worried about that just yet. So, you know that you're in the North Sea when you have windmill after windmill after windmill ahead of you. Those wind turbines are really spread out all across the North Sea. That probably means that you have a good place to land at if you really need to ditch the aircraft in the ocean, because all those turbines are of course accompanied by a lot of boats and service personnel and basically infrastructure. So that's quite a good thing. I just totally love the looks here. And let's face it, that 200ER is a pretty good looking aircraft overall. So, descent down to flight level 50. And then let's just head over to the cabin here for a moment, just to see this in action. Especially on the other side with those wind turbines, I think it should look really good. So let's just head over there for a moment. So, 6 kilo, that's gonna be our seat here. Look at this. So it looks like there is actually a little bit of wind here. You can see the turbines turning slowly. And then let's get back to the front. So 500 feet above the profile, that is really nothing to worry about at all. So let's extend the center line from 614 and 4056 to intercept. Execute. So speeds are looking correct. I like it. So descent altitude 3000 feet on the QNH 1025. Set 3000 checked. Set QNH. And QNH 1025 cross check passing 6200 now. So let's help it a bit. And here we are. We're reaching Europe. Now look at this. Totally love it. I totally love it. The sim just looks so beautiful. So, speed brakes back in. And now descend altitude to 2,900 feet, reduce speed to 220 knots. So, here we are. Turn left 090, cleared ILS approach runway 06. Approach armed, lock captured, and approach checklist please. Altimeters, QNH 1025, approach checklist complete. Flaps 1, speed checked. Glide slope captured. Go around altitude 2000 set. Flaps 5. Speed checked. Flaps 5.
$2,500.
Checked. Gear down. Going to wait a little bit with extending our flaps further. Alright, the speed is coming back nicely. I like this about the 777. It is a lot easier to reduce speed on the approach. In the A330 I'd be doomed now. We could more or less go around already. Okay, so flaps 15. And flaps 20. Speed checked, flaps 20. So now we really have the drag to lose that airspeed. Flaps 25. Speed checked, flaps 25. So 142 knots approach speed, that's looking pretty good. Landing checklist. Landing checklist complete. So, autopilot off.
1,000.
Checked. Alright, we'll vacate via one of those last exits as briefed. I'm not exactly sure what that TCAS target is doing down there, but let's just ignore it. Gotta love those huge Dutch highways down here. It's just too bad they have a speed limit on them. Yes, that's the German talking over here.
Approaching minimums.
Checked. The AI is doing a runway crossing, lovely. Continue. Wanna bet that second one is going to cross the runway as well?
100.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go around for you, my friend.
50. 30. 20. 10.
Spoilers, reverse green. Well, it's cleared the runway just about in time. Alright, that next exit is ours here. Manual brakes. So, what is the AI doing? Normally, you should always be taxiing on the right-hand side here in Amsterdam. That means they should be on Alpha and not on Bravo. Alpha would be the parallel inboard one. It looks like they don't really care about that, so in that case, we'll go in between the two, and then we are going to go into Alpha. So that 737 is clear. And then we can turn to the right over here. So it's not a 300 ER, I'm still overshooting occasionally here. It's just been a long while since I've flown this aircraft. Okay, so APU on, lights off, auto brake off, flaps going up, and speed breakers going in. Transponder out off, and last but not least, weather radar off. So left turn over here, it's not that tight, so we can take it without going all the way back to 10 knots, as you can see. No problem. And here we are. Okay, so second to the left. APU is running, shut down engine 2. So, maximum span 52 meters. We are longer than that, but I don't really care. So, please keep turning. Will you? Interesting, now it's actually going... Hello. That was interesting. The engine actually overpowered the nose wheel steering. That should absolutely not happen at any normal thrust setting normally used for takeoff. For taxi. For takeoff, yes, maybe. So that was interesting. I never saw the sim doing that before, but in any case, that is worth a report. So the 787 isn't completely behind the line either, so this might become expensive. Let's see. No, it fits. Barely just, but it fits. Okay, we're clear on the right side, turning left over here. And here we go, Delta 3 it is. Lights off. So, a guidance system would be pretty useful, but, well, here we are. I suppose this will have to do. So, park and brake set, APU is verified running, and shut down. Cabin crew, all doors in park. So, engine is running down. Shutdown checklist, park and brake, set, shutdown checklist complete. Okay, cool. So, ground operations, set chocks, request the jetway, connect the ground power. Then service vehicles, we'll need the cargo loaders, and disarm those slides. Let's see, looks like it's going to 2 left. So let's open that one. Alrighty, well, with that, all those messages down here are checked. There's nothing in here. We have sufficient oil left, so it's not a leak. Ground power is available, shutting down the APU. So, ADRU off, emergency exit lights stay armed until the passengers have disembarked. Well, and with that, we have done it, my friends. So, let's see the timer. 13 hours and 14 minutes in the 777. And I have to say my parking actually isn't too bad. Seeing that we didn't have any marshal or anything, just about a meter to the left, while turning in on such a close environment, I'm kinda happy with that. Well, and that's going to be it for today's flight. I do hope you all enjoyed it. Be sure to leave your feedback in the comments underneath the video. As always, like, comment and subscribe, and if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.